everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Liddy here, and today we are going to be discussing in book club The Silent Patient. Now this is your sign, if you have never read the book, to immediately click out because there's going to be spoilers in this video. You have been warned. You don't want to get spoiled. Jump off right now. I have discussion topics here that we're going to be talking about and going over and dissecting The Silent Patient, so let's get into it. First thing we're going to talk about is Alicia's silence. Discuss the significance of Alicia's silence throughout the novel. What do you think it symbolizes? That's a good question. I feel like Alicia's silence signifies, it could be a mix of like shock, like what the heck just happened. It could also be a way of her to kind of feel like a loss of self, because I feel like someone that roots for you, your parents are so important to you. I think that Alicia upbringing was just so sad. Her mom in the car crash, and then her dad saying that about her. I think Alicia never really had a sense of like love and care, and for someone that she met, Gabriel, marry him and be with him, and well, I don't know if they were married, but Gabriel, for someone to come into her life and be the love of her life and them still do the same thing that her parents did, obviously it just makes you feel so like, I'm done, you know, like you don't want to talk, you don't have a sense of self and a sense of like, I guess like not a will to live, because that is obviously not a reason for you not to want to live. But for someone like Alicia, who I feel like has been through so much and has just like this really like soft mind and this weak mind, and we obviously know that she's been through mental breakdowns before, I think that's probably what her silence represents. I think the silence also just kind of represents like, why do I need to tell my story if no one's here to even care or listen? Like, I think she's at her lowest point ever. Narrative structure. How does the use of Theo's first-person narrative affect your understanding of the story? I loved looking at the point of view through Theo, and I think that if they ever did like a part 2, or I don't know, maybe a movie, I would love to see it through Alicia's point of view, because that would have been crazy. And we kind of did get Alicia's point of view through her diary. I liked Theo's first person narrative because it kind of felt like Theo was never going to be part of Alicia's story. It literally felt like he was there to help Alicia, but you guys know at the end he doesn't do that at all. It was very selfish. Theo's very selfish, and I think that you never got that sense of him other than that part that his obsession with Kathy for literally no reason. Like, Kathy does not like him. She reminds me of like this girl that's like, she doesn't love him. Like, she's just like, okay, I'm like just with this guy, you know? Very strange, very strange. I don't feel bad for Theo. I think that he's not the brightest, but what are you gonna do? Psychological depth. Explore the psychological aspects of Alicia's character. What might have led her to her traumatic response? This book was very psychological. I mean, it was literally about this therapist who was dying to take care of this patient, but there's obviously a plot twist behind it. That was his true motive, but that's what you see from the beginning. I just think this book was very, very psychological. It literally talked about psychology so many times. I think that Alicia literally had a mental breakdown. It's crazy because I don't think she was ever crazy. I think she was made to be crazy. We all know that her mom was also suffered from mental illness, so she probably, her environment really and her upbringing really triggered it. I think the way the story was brought upon, of course, like it led to that traumatic response. Theo's obsession. Analyze Theo's obsession with Alicia. What are his true motives for helping her? I think that it's obvious that his true motive was he didn't want the truth to get out. I think he needed closure from Theo's very selfish. Let's just put it that way. So I think Theo's first motivation for helping Alicia was he didn't want the truth to get out. He believed Alicia, obviously, because he was the man stalking her and Gabriel. But I also think Theo needed to know and get closure for himself that like, Alicia, why'd you kill Gabriel? Like, it wasn't because of me, right? Like, I didn't do anything. I felt like that was so selfish of him to like, one, have her relive that, and two, like, it's different if he was seriously the therapist and that cared for Alicia, but like, no, he just terrorized her and then wanted to know like, oh, so why did you kill him? Like, you didn't have to. What is wrong with you, Theo? It's obsessed. Unreliable narrator. How does the concept of an unreliable narrator play out in this book? When did you start questioning Theo's reliability? I never questioned Theo. The ending I didn't see it coming, but I think that I started to get a little weirded out when Theo was talking about how like he would stalk Kathy in the woods, like with Gabriel. I think once like Gabriel and Kathy were like together in the woods and like Theo was like randomly there, and I was like, wait, is Theo like staring at Alicia? But then I got confused with how the wording and the timeline was in the book. I don't know, that's where it got a little bit confusing and I was like, what's going on? Now I know he, obviously when you get to the end, he was an unreliable narrator trying to fool us, and you know what, he got us fooled. But now I'm just like, I didn't really see it coming. Like, I really didn't. Therapeutic ethics. Discuss the ethical boundaries Theo crosses as a therapist. How do these actions impact your view of him? Okay, that was pretty crazy. Like, when they specifically told Theo stop going to Alicia's family, and like he kept going, I was kind of like, oh wow, he really cares. But in the real world, you can't do that. Like, you can't. So I'm like, Theo, like, what are you doing? This is very unrealistic of you. So I thought that was a little bit off, but I also just felt like he had this obsession with trying to fix Alicia until we realized at the end, like, I don't think he cared that much about fixing her. I think he cared more about, like, I don't know, like figuring out what was wrong with her and also just like saving his own butt and like getting his own closure. That's my opinion, of course. Twist ending. How did you react to the twist ending? Did you see it coming or was it a surprise? It was definitely a surprise. I didn't think that Theo did all of that. Only a little bit. Like, I was like, wait, Theo's kind of a stalker. He's kind of obsessed with watching Gabriel. There was a quick moment, but then I was like, oh wait, the timeline doesn't make sense. And then when he was like, oh, I believe Alicia. Why is he so sure of her, you know? So a little bit. I feel like 2% of me was like, Theo, strange, but I didn't really get it. It was a huge twist for me. Themes of betrayal. How do themes of betrayal and trust manifest in the relationships in the novel? First of all, Kathy is such a bad human being. Like, she just really is. Why is she with Theo if she obviously doesn't love him? Like, I never understand why characters or even just people in real life like do that. Like, just leave. Like, what is the point of staying and making the other person miserable? Not saying I'm team Theo. Theo's crazy himself, and maybe that's why Kathy, like, she knew he was crazy, maybe, but I don't know. Like, Kathy was messed up. Gabriel betraying Alicia is actually so hurtful. I kind of wish they showed how close Alicia and Gabriel were, because they didn't show that at all. They just showed that like Alicia was obsessed with Gabriel, but they didn't really show it the other way around, and maybe that was the point. Maybe Alicia was just like obsessed with the thought of someone loving her and accepting her because she didn't really have that in her childhood. So he betrayed Alicia so bad that she had to end him. Like, that is crazy to me. That's insane. That's like really big betrayal though. I would be like, oh my gosh, did that just happen? Role of art. What role does Alicia's painting play in the story? How does it help reveal her inner state? I feel like Alicia uses her paintings to communicate. I like the way that she ends up painting Gabriel a lot of the times and how they describe it in the book, because I feel like it's her trying to communicate something to him. It's just her way of communicating better than word. That's just how I see it. Influence of Greek mythology. How does the reference to the Greek myth of Alcestis, I think I said that right, enhance the story? What parallels can you draw? I kind of like that they brought up the Alcestis because it's symbolism and it's just viewed that way. So I really did like that. It was nice to hear in the story. I like the symbolism. I wouldn't say it was something like, oh my gosh, my jaw's dropping, this is amazing. Like, it was just like, I liked that symbolism, especially since she was an artist. So I'm pretty indifferent about it. Mental health depictions. How does the book portray mental health and therapy? Do you think these portrayals are accurate? I feel like it was good. I felt like mental health seems to be like that. Maybe it was a little bit exaggerated the way that they of course made Alicia, her paintings. Maybe people are like that. I don't know, especially artists. In my video about Verity, I feel like writers are they're also artists, so it's just very dramatic. But I feel like the therapy sessions with Theo went well. The other side characters that were in the psychiatric ward as well, the Grove, I feel like they were a little bit over the top, but not really necessary for the story because they definitely threw you off so many times. Theo and Kathy's relationship. Discuss the dynamics of Theo and Kathy's marriage. How does this relationship influence Theo's actions? So toxic. They should not be together. I have nothing to say about that. I just think they're a horrible couple and they should have been away from each other a long time ago. Theo has this obsession with her and she doesn't even care about him. Like, he is so sad. Settings impact. How does the setting of the psychiatric facility, the Grove, contribute to the novel's atmosphere? I loved it. I thought it was very creepy, but not as creepy as the house in Verity. I don't know. That just felt very creepy. I didn't really view the psychiatric ward so dreary. I kind of viewed it like Girl Interrupted. If you've ever seen that movie, I kind of viewed it that way. So it wasn't so dreary. It was just kind of like doctors everywhere, the chairs, and like a couch and TV. Very simple. I didn't see anything crazy about it. Secondary characters. Discuss the roles of secondary characters like Diomedes, Christian, and Yuri. How do they influence the plot? Definitely to throw you off, which I liked that because I could have sworn it was either Diomedes or Christian. So they kind of throw you off. We always need that, you know? How does Theo's own history and personal struggles influence his behavior and decisions? How does his backstory shape your perception of him as a character? We don't get into Theo's backstory so much. I think he had issues with his father as well, but it just, I guess it made me feel like he kind of relates to Alicia on some personal level. So symbolism. Identify and discuss key symbols in the novel, such as Alicia's diary and her painting. What do they represent? Well, her diary obviously represents like her talking, and her painting, it also represents just her finding a way to communicate. I think that her not talking just really goes to show like how lost she feels. She's such a sad girl and just all over the place. I think she completely lost herself after her breaking point. I don't think that Alicia is a killer or supposed to be a killer, but unfortunately that's what happened, and that's was what the aftermath caused, her silence. Grief and trauma. How do grief and trauma shape the characters' lives and decisions? Definitely, I would say the trauma that Alicia went through totally shaped her as a human being, because I think that if she had a better upbringing, she wouldn't have killed Gabriel that night. She probably would have just really been like, wow dude, did you really just do that? Wow, now I see your true colors. Since she had a bad upbringing, that really does a lot to you subconsciously. Sometimes you don't even notice, but it just does stuff to you. Like growing up with your mom who tried to literally end you in a car crash, like that's crazy, and your dad saying, oh, like I wish that, you know, you were the one that got ended. That is so hurtful, and I can just imagine that's why she kind of just felt like that trauma her whole life and she never felt loved and never felt like wanted, you know? And Gabriel just really tipped that over. Power dynamics. Discuss the power dynamics between patients and therapists in the novels. How do these dynamics affect the characters' interactions? I felt like maybe sometimes characters, like the patients, were a little bit overbearing to the staff, so that was pretty crazy. Themes of silence and communication. How are themes of silence and communication explored in the book? What is the significance of Alicia's final act of communication? Kind of feel bad for Celine. Actually, I feel so bad for Alicia because I feel like she was done so dirty her whole life. Like she really was. And I think her final act of communication, which was literally saying like Theo's the killer, I feel like it's kind of empowering too, because like she has been pushed down and just dragged in the mud so many times that I think it's a really powerful way to also give closure to herself, you know, taking her final breaths. Oh, that was crazy. I can't believe Theo did that. Like, Theo, why? Why'd you do that? Theo's crazy himself, you guys. But I feel like Theo actually over the hedge crazy after that. Like, over the hedge. Like, he went crazy after that. That is my personal thoughts on this book. I thought The Silent Patient was such a good read. I would give it 4 stars out of 5. If you're looking for a good psychological thriller with a crazy ending, I highly recommend you check out The Silent Patient. Please stay tuned for the next book review. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. You know I love to talk to you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.